All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to the Spoken.
My guys, Trevor Twidwell.
Was good.
And Eddie Ortiz. Oh, Eddie Ortiz isn't here. That's right. Oh, that's a surprise. Anyway, episode 210 in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us. Whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTube, we want to thank you so much for being with us in this time. As we have what I would consider a very fun-filled show for you guys today. Our guy, Eddie Ortiz, is not here right now. Hopefully we can get him later on in the day, but he had some previous obligations to attend to, so you're going to have to deal with us two gringos here for the next maybe hour and a half. But like I said, we have a lot to get to, guys, a lot of discussion to get to, a lot of fun-filled, a lot of, I would say, controversial, uncomfortable conversations to be had, but this is something we have to do here at The Spoken each and every week. And whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, whether you're YouTubing, we want to thank you so much for being with us in this time, as we are now 210 episodes into what we do here at The Spoken Podcast. It's an absolute blast. We love what we do here. And if you've not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, we would love it if you guys jumped on there real quick and hit us up on the Spoken Podcast YouTube page. It's been growing. It's continued to grow, and we have been there, so thankful and so blessed, so honored to have you guys with us in this time as we've been doing this now for over 4 years now. That's definitely a bragging right that I take seriously and I love, I admire, and could not do it without you guys as I do every single time. But enough of the sentiments. Let's get to some real business. Let's get to some cold, hard business. And that's what the Chiefs have been doing this entire offseason. They've been making some cold, hard business decisions, some business moves, some that we very much agree with, some that we're a little puzzled and confused on, and some maybe we don't even agree with at all. But that's the beauty of doing this. Regardless of whether MVS agrees with us being GMs or not on Twitter, we're going to continue to talk and have our opinion, because that's what we as fans do, especially during the offseason. We're invested in this team. We love this team, and this is something that we want to talk about and discuss, is where this team's going and what direction they're headed, and we hope that it's going to be more Super Bowls for the foreseeable future. So we know that the Chiefs have been making some offseason moves as far as adding some depth, adding some guys to the equation that aren't star players by any means, but just good, solidified depth. And that's what this team needs. But they've also been doing it in a way where they've been getting cheap depth. And that's something the Chiefs have also needed as well, because of the fact that we know that they've been on this quote-unquote youth movement for the last 2 seasons, building a younger, more talented nucleus around Patrick Mahomes, so you can win not only right now, but for the next 3 to 5 years. And that's something that is so pivotal, because we know that Patrick Mahomes' prime years are coming up within the next 3 to 5 seasons. So you got to capitalize. You have to go out there and get the best team around Patrick Mahomes as possible, so you know what you're getting in return each and every season, and you're doubling down on your investment. And I'm okay with that. I'm 100% fine with that. I'm 100% with it. My only thing is I want to make sure that the Chiefs are going to continue to hit on key veteran players, guys that you know can walk in from the outside and be an impact player, be a difference maker, or if you know a guy can stay here and continue to be a difference maker, that you pay them what you feel is worth, because you believe that he can continue to be that for the next 3+ seasons. But the Chiefs have shown us that a lot of the guys that have been on this roster are guys that they're willing to part with, and not just guys they're willing to part with, but guys they're not even willing to go out and bid for from the outside. We saw Juju this last week leave. We saw Orlando Brown Jr. leave. We've seen the rest of the wide receiver market continue to dry up. But we're also seeing today, or rather this week, McCole Hardman signing with the Jets on a 1 year, up to $6.5 million on that deal. But it was only a 1 year deal the Jets brought him in. And McCole had his press conference yesterday with the Jets, and he was asked if he was offered a contract from the Chiefs. And according to him, We got some sound audio going on over here. According to his agent, according to what McCole Hardman said in his press conference with the Jets yesterday, his agent never actually got an offer from the Chiefs, from what McColl's understood. And this initially seemed pretty odd to me. Initially, I assumed that either his agent is just completely incompetent and whiffed on a better offer from the Chiefs, or the Chiefs legitimately did not offer McCole Hardman a contract, at least not one that was worth mentioning. And I'm of the full belief that it is the latter, because the Chiefs have made it, again, very clear and obvious that they're willingly passing on inexpensive wide receivers that have helped them win Super Bowls like Juju and McCole. But it's also apparently all a part of the plan that we keep hearing about. That Brett Veach has when it comes to retooling the Chiefs wide receiver room in particular. And I want to get to our theories in just a second as to what the plan really is. But first, I want to address directly McCole Hardman, his time with the Chiefs, and what it means now that he's gone. So we all know why the Chiefs drafted McCole Hardman. To essentially replace Tyreek Hill. We all know that it was, as it would turn out, the Chiefs didn't end up having to replace Tyreek Hill, at least to that point, which made McCole a very odd fit from the very get-go. Yet he fit in his own way, never becoming a wide receiver 1, hell, not even really a wide receiver 2 by any means. Yet McCole still found a way to be a productive player and a difference maker on this offense and in special teams. In his 4 seasons with the Chiefs, playoffs included, McCole Hardman averaged 1,107 all-purpose yards and 6 total touchdowns. That's valuable production from your third or fourth best offensive weapon, without question. And while a large portion of Chiefs fans found ways to criticize McCole Hardman for never becoming that next Tyreek Hill, they failed to acknowledge that he became a piece that the Chiefs needed in a unique way and time. We all remember that historic comeback victory against the Texans in the 2019-2020 divisional round game. It's still to this day my favorite Chiefs game ever. I know people like to point out the Bills and Chiefs game in the divisional round in 2022 or 2021, but that game wasn't fun for the majority of it. That was a very stressful game. It was a great ending for sure, but the Texans game started off so frustrating, but the Chiefs just went on an absolute tear that it made that game just so glorious. And you saw the Texans just get shell-shocked. It was, to me, my favorite Chiefs game as a fan. I've been watching the Chiefs for over 30 years. Yet so many of us, despite it being single greatest comeback in franchise history, so many of us, Chiefs fans, forget who ignited that comeback. With just under 11 minutes to go in the second quarter, the Chiefs down 24-0. It was McCole Hardman that changed the momentum of that game with a 58-yard kickoff return that set the team and crowd ablaze. Before that return, the Chiefs offense went 3-and-out with the block punt returned for a touchdown by Lonnie Johnson, 3-and-out punt, muff punt turnover, thanks Tyreek, 3-and-out punt. After McCole's 58-yard return, the Chiefs offense went touchdown, 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 field goal, 3-and-out and punt, victory formation, kneel down. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Damian Williams had insane games and got the praise for much of an epic comeback, as they should. But it was a rookie wide receiver that wasn't who and what the Chiefs drafted him to become that turned the tide of momentum in the Chiefs' direction in that game. Folks also forget that in 2022, without Tyreek Hill and a bunch of unproven commodities surrounding Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman was one of the team's most productive, most consistent offensive weapons. Through week 9 of the 2022 season, Travis Kelce had 7 touchdowns. McCole Hardman had 6. Had it not been for him suffering the first real injury of his career, McCole would have had a career year with a pace of over 900 total yards and 12 total touchdowns. He was on his way to making bank this offseason, and staying on the sidelines, allowing his body to heal, would have pretty much solidified that bag for the 25-year-old. But see, folks also forget one more thing about Mecole Hardman, and that's that he fought back to get back on the field to help his team not only get back to the Super Bowl, but overcome the Bengals, who had beaten the Chiefs 3 consecutive times going into the AFC Championship. Only playing 15 snaps, Mecole Hardman still found a way to make another key play to ignite his team in a big playoff game. Tied 13-13 in the third quarter with 9 minutes remaining of the AFC Championship in 2023. 3rd and 5, Patrick Mahomes hits Mecole Hardman with an 11-yard completion. That would be Mecole Hardman's final play in a Chiefs uniform. 7 plays later, the Chiefs score a touchdown. Before that third down conversion, the Chiefs went field goal, touchdown, 3 and out, 3 and out. 1 touchdown in their first 5 possessions. The Chiefs clearly needed a spark, and Mecole lit the match. Despite the injury he had battling for months at that point, he still went in, stepped in, and stepped up, giving the Chiefs yet another key play that led to another postseason win and another Super Bowl victory. He chose putting his health and his future money at risk to help this team win. I don't want to ever hear another negative word about Mecole Hardman as a Chief. Because to me, even though he never lived up to the purpose for why the Chiefs drafted him to become the next Tyreek Hill, he became Mecole Hardman, which was what the Chiefs needed all along. It sucks to see him leave, especially for such a team-friendly deal the Jets got him on. Regardless, Mecole heads to New York with 2 Super Bowl rings that he played a key role in getting both, and we should never forget that. Trevor, when you look back and you think back to Mecole Hardman as a Chief, what he brought to this team, what is your thoughts? How do you view Mecole Hardman as a Chief when you look back and say, this is what Mecole was to me? What is he to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think of a guy that brought production. He was a good fit to what Andy Reid wanted to do. I mean, we've seen that game against the Niners just this past season. Games like that. Multiple touchdowns in a game where he just absolutely took over and there was nothing the defenses can do. The guy has all-time speed. The only reason he's somewhat frowned upon is because, and we've discussed that on the show numerous times ad nauseum, that he was, quote-unquote, the Tyreek replacement. He was never Tyreek Hill. He's never going to be Tyreek Hill. That's just not who he is and not what he was brought in here to be. We brought him in for speed, sure, but he's done nothing but be a productive player since he's been here. A guy that has a nose for the end zone, a guy that has breakaway speed, that guy has flipped games and changed momentum of games, pivotal, big-time games in the postseason for this team. And, there's been, do I think there was some left on the table with his career here in Kansas City? Yeah, I think so. I think there was massive moments where Pat even missed Tyreek or Mecole downfield on possibly some even bigger plays for his career in Kansas City. We've seen the tape. There's been times where he was wide open, he was just missed. It's not like this guy was not a guy putting it all out there, putting the effort on the field, leaving everything on the field every single week. This is a guy that did that, and even that game in Cincy this postseason when he had that big time catch that converted the third down. Andy Reid was just singing his praises after that game. This is a guy that probably shouldn't have been on the field. But he did what he needed to do and said the right words to allow himself and allow the coaches to green light it and let him give it a go. And he wasn't able to finish it, but he did everything he could. And that's the heart of a Lion. That's the heart of a champion. That's the kind of guy. That's the kind of heart you want in your players as a coach. And that's why Andy Reid was singing his praises on that post game presser against Cincy there. I have nothing but positive things. And look, I was a critical guy on Mecole for most of his, the first 3 years or so of his career. It was hard for me to really be bought in on him, but I eventually started to understand what he was. He was never going to be the wide receiver 1. He was never going to be that guy, the true alpha of that wide receiver room. But I think he knew his role. I think Andy Reid knew his role, and I think once us as fans understand his role and try to set the bar a little lower. Not that he's not capable of doing certain things, but just understand who he is for this team. Everyone has a role. And I think once you understood, what he was on this team and the production he brought when called upon, when things got tight in the red zone, he was a guy that could either be a solid decoy on those fake jet sweeps or those reverse jet sweeps or anything, man. Just getting him the ball and when things are tight is always a good bet. And the guy has a nose for the end zone. So I have nothing but respect and admiration. And looking back on his career as a Chief, he was a part of bringing 2 championships and 2 of the best memories of my life as a sports fan. So I have nothing but fond memories of the guy. Well,
and one more point I want to make about McColl, and then I want to move on to something that I think is a lot more important for the Chiefs, obviously, moving forward. I've sat here and I've really tried to understand why certain fans have been able to justify criticizing and crucifying McCole Hardman. And I think it's one simple reason. It was just simply when he was drafted and why he was drafted. Because you can't look at, given the fact the Chiefs over the last 5 seasons have had 2 prolific receiving options, which means you're always going to work your offense through those guys, and you have a superstar quarterback, you can't realistically expect a third option to be a great piece. It's just not. That's not how the NFL works. So if McCole Hardman had been drafted, let's say in like the 3rd or 4th round, or even in the 2nd round, but it wasn't because they're trying to replace Tyreek Hill based upon a controversy at the time.
Right.
I truly believe if his numbers did not change and the Chiefs had the same amount of success and he did what he did in the postseason, he would be a beloved character to those same people.
Or even if we acquired him the same way we did Kadarius Toney or something,
yes,
giving up a couple picks.
I think that there are certain fans that you can't please no matter what. Like there's always just going to be those negative people out there. I'm not talking about those ones. I'm talking about the people that have that when you bring up the name McCole Hardman, they kind of go like, like those people. Like they're kind of like on the fence about it.
There's a negative connotation connected to it in their ideas.
It has to only be because of that.
Right.
Because of the fact that, again, this man put up numbers. He wasn't putting up Tyreek numbers, but who does?
Yeah, and
a collection of the elites.
And he made the best of the situations because he wasn't a guy that's always on the field.
Right.
Especially early in his first couple seasons. He wasn't on the field a lot, but the dude had double-digit touchdowns in a season. You know what I mean?
We've seen guys play such a smaller contribution to what the Chiefs have done over the last 5 years for a much shorter period of time be far more beloved than McCole Hardman's ever been. And I don't understand that at all.
I feel like Kadarius Toney's already becoming more beloved.
Well, and here's the thing.
Granted, he's had early success.
Kadarius I think, is a better overall receiver.
Oh, and he's electric. He has that electric way
about
him
skilled.
like Tyreek did.
I just think he's more skilled. Because even if you look back at McCole's
he's more of a
college career.
Polished receiver.
Yeah, because you look at McCole's college career, he was never a great receiver. Yeah. He's a burner, can make big plays. He's basically a better version of what John Ross was supposed to be. Yeah. A burner that can go and make big plays downfield and be special teams.
And the fact that, and people like to forget that McCole was more of a special teamer kind of guy. He was. I think it's because he comes from Georgia. He comes from a solid school like that, a solid football school. So people have these expectations. But I just, I'm with you, man. I think, and it took me a while. Like I said, he had to grow on me because I'm not one guy that anoints a lot of guys early unless it's like Kadarius Toney because I see something in that guy, but other than that, it's just I typically let guys grow on me.
Well, and McCole is a unique piece to the puzzle because I don't know how many other players I can think of that did not live up to expectation, but played their role perfectly.
Right.
Like, how many guys do you know that do that on a given basis where they are considered a disappointment, but were everything the team needed for when the time called? Like, that's what McCole Hardman was. Because, again, this man, if he would have stayed on the sidelines this season after getting injured with that abdominal injury, that mysterious abdominal injury, if he just said, you know what, guys, I'm going to get in surgery, I wish you guys the best of luck. I'll cheer my team on. I love you guys. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But I'm shutting it down. He would have gotten the bag this offseason.
Yeah.
And he would have been healthy and ready to go for training camp. I'm sure he will be.
Yeah, he wouldn't be signing a 1-year deal right now.
Thank you. That's my whole entire.
Not be signing a 1-year
he would have
deal.
gotten what Jacoby Myers would have gotten.
For sure.
At $11 million a year kind of deal, because that was his market value according to SpotRack going into the offseason was about $10.5 million a year.
Yeah.
So he would have gotten that deal had he have been healthy. But see, he put his body on the line to fight back, to claw back, and help his team beat the team that's been in their way for the last 2 seasons,
And
which
that
the
meant
Bengals.
a lot to him.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So you can't take that away from my guy here. And I'm not trying to sit here and say McColl didn't have his issues. He was not good at route running. He did not have a good route running ability. He did not flatten his routes
It took
out.
a long time for him and Pat to get on the same page.
His hands weren't very reliable. He had some drop issues. But the man solidified punt returning, kick returning when he needed to, and he made big plays in big moments.
Yep.
That's all you can ask from a guy that plays wide receiver forward for your team. When he's putting up over 1,100 all-purpose yards a season and getting 6 touchdowns a season, he had 6 touchdowns his rookie year with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill attached to him.
Yep.
You know how hard that shit is to do? Like that's that with Patrick Mahomes in and out of the lineup. Patrick Mahomes missed 2.5 games that season. So these are the things that I want people to understand and contextualize. He's gone. I know people are probably screaming, Lance, you need to move on. But I'm somebody that likes to pay homage to people that deserve it. I like to give contribution to guys. Because, growing up, Trevor, we grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s. We heard everybody praising guys that didn't help the Chiefs win anything.
Yeah.
And these guys are, like I said, beloved characters
There's legends
forever.
in this team that didn't win anything.
Like, no offense to guys like Kimball Anders. I love the guy, but let's be real. Like, he
Yeah.
didn't contribute the way McCole Hardman did. He's probably a better overall football player, but he didn't contribute to winning. He didn't contribute to the things that McCole Hardman has contributed to with half the pressure and expectation McCole Hardman had. McCole Hardman was an early draft pick that was about to supposedly supplant Tyreek Hill. Like, think about that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of pressure on a guy, and he did what he did. I want to give respect to that guy on his way out of town. And I just nothing but the best in New York, man, because I think that he could have himself a really solid season
Well, he's
in
going to
New
be part
York.
of a really solid team over there this year.
I don't know if he's going to be a long-term guy with New York. I think this is probably a feel-out contract to see like what he can do there,
Yeah.
and then maybe get himself a bag. Like I was suggesting, the Chiefs bring him back for one more year, and then at 26,
Well, they
retries
did
the
just
market.
get rid of, what's his name, white boy over there.
Braxton Berrios.
So
and they traded away Elijah Moore.
They're
And-
similar players, him
yeah.
and Braxton Berrios.
That's what the role he's going to
He's
play.
a good special teamer, and he's a good
Yeah.
agility kind of guy, so I think a one-year deal fits that system perfectly, and obviously McColl's better than Braxton Berrios.
And I don't know if Braxton's been picked up, but just a side note, I
like
would
him.
love to have him on
I
this
like
team.
him.
I'd definitely love him on special teams.
Absolutely.
But see, that's all a part of the plan. The plan that we keep hearing about that we know nothing about. Let's get into the biggest cliche amongst Chiefs chatter in Kansas City and amongst social media platforms. Let's discuss the plan, if you will. So now that Juju and McColl are gone, now that we've seen the free agent wide receiver market dry up even more, and the Chiefs let Juju and McColl walk for team-friendly deals and have sat by as free agent wide receivers have signed team-friendly deals elsewhere, us Chiefs fans are left here wondering what exactly the plan is. Which is why we are here today to theorize what Brett Veach is planning to do at wide receiver. It's a very big question. It's a very big concern. Coming into the new league year, the free agent wide receiver market was bleak at best. In fact, it's one of the worst wide receiver markets I've seen in some time, especially when you consider the fact that last offseason, it was a wide receiver spinning frenzy league-wide. I mean, it was nuts how much money was going out there. Granted, there were bigger names, because Juju was one of, if not the biggest name out there this offseason, and got about $11 million per year. And now that it seems that OBJ is headed back to New York, but this time he's going to be playing with the Jets. That's according to all reports, unless something goes wrong. It does look like he's heading. Yeah, he's definitely heading that way.
I know that's one of the guys that Aaron Rodgers name dropped.
Yes, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs are planning on adding a veteran wide receiver difference maker, it's going to be in a trade. As I've been saying all along, that is literally the route we're heading here, because there's literally nobody else out there in free agency that you can say, oh yeah, bring him in, difference maker. He's just not there anymore. And look, I believe there are a number of wide receivers the Chiefs could realistically trade for, but how many of them actually fit the criteria of what the Chiefs are looking for, both in being a difference maker and won't cost the Chiefs a number of valuable picks and won't cost them a hefty contract extension? Brett Veach has been very intentional and has been very obvious in his approach when it comes to filling the wide receiver room. Not paying Juju team-friendly money, not even matching the Jets' one-year deal for McCole Hardman that it has potential not in total, the potential of getting to only $6.5 million, which is an absolute steal, tells me that they plan on upgrading while keeping the return assets low. So who is it then? Who are the Chiefs after? Who's a realistic trade option that fits the criteria of a difference maker that won't cost a ton to get and to keep? It's still DeAndre Hopkins. I am not going to reiterate what I have been saying for what seems to be months now as to how and why this trade makes all the sense in the world for both sides. So instead, I'm going to take it into a different route, Trevor, and I wanted you to go with me on this. I'm going to paint the picture to surround the scenario to enhance my point here. Here is a list of wide receivers that had more yards than D-Hop last season. You tell me which of these do you think, one, the Chiefs could convince their team to trade them away, two, trading for them wouldn't cost the Chiefs 2+ valuable picks to get them in a trade, and three, won't demand a big payday contract extension within the next year. So I'm going to go ahead and try to skim over the top because these are the most obvious ones that there's no chance in hell the Chiefs are getting these guys. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Jalen Waddle. There's 0% chance the Chiefs are getting any of those guys in a trade this offseason, so we're just going to scrap that completely. Then after that, there's obviously Travis Kelce. Hey, what do you know? That's the guy the Chiefs already got.
He's good.
And then you have Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith is going nowhere. He's got 2 years left on his deal. This guy has superstar potential. Pairing him up next to A.J. Brown was literally the goal in mind for the Eagles. There's no way in hell they're letting that guy walk.
Super Bowl.
Then there's Terry McLaurin, who I actually am going to put a little note on because that's somebody I want to talk about in a minute. Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown, nope. Sure. Amari Cooper, nope. Mike Evans, pin that one real quick. Christian Kirk, nope. Garrett Wilson, nope. DK Metcalf, absolutely not. Jamar Chase, LOL. Chris Olave, nope. Tyler Lockett, nope. T. Higgins, nope. Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Michael Pittman, T.J. Hawkinson, tight end, Mike Williams, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Drake London. Are any of those guys getting traded this offseason to the Chiefs?
No.
Not a single chance. But of those names, I only came up away with 2 that were worth mentioning, and I said put a note in them, Terry McLaurin and Mike Evans. And I'm just going to entertain you for a second on these 2 guys. And Trevor, if you disagree, if you saw another name on there that you think is possible, you can stop me whenever you want to. But these are the 2 names that I found on this list that I think are even theoretically fun to talk about when it comes to a trade. McLaurin, first of all, it's common sense. He's extremely talented. I think he would be a great fit in the Chiefs offense. In fact, last offseason, when I made my little wish list of a wide receiver that I wanted to see the Chiefs go after, he was second on my list, only behind A.J. Brown. Yep. And the Chiefs were in conversations with A.J. Brown so that you know that they were going down the list. And McLaurin would have been an absolute stud for this offense. And with the Commanders being in NFL purgatory with no starting quarterback in the middle of an ownership change, maybe, trading a 28-year-old wide receiver can get them a few picks to build off of. However, McLaurin has a dead cap of $27.8 million this season and just signed a $71 million extension last offseason. So the Commanders clearly view McLaurin as a long-term answer at wide receiver, so it would take a convincing trade offer for them to relinquish his talents to a team like the Chiefs. Plus, again, the Chiefs would have to be paying him more than what they would have been paying Juju and McColl combined by a substantial margin.
He'd be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's my next point. Now, McLaurin is a much better wide receiver than both of them combined, but based on the way the Chiefs have gone about this offseason, I would be shocked to hear that they're trading for at least a second and 2/4 to get McLaurin. It's going to take at least 3 picks to convince the Commanders to move off of him, and it's going to be valuable picks, early to mid-round picks, and then you're going to have to pay him that money that he's still got left on there, and then the Commanders are going to have to pay $28 million in dead cap. I just, even a dumb franchise like that, I have a hard time believing that trade would even exist. But again, these are just the entertaining ones, the ones I even felt had a percentage chance of happening. And then there's Mike Evans. Mike Evans is one of the best receivers over the last 2 decades and would be a stud no matter wherever he plays and whoever he plays with. That's been proven throughout his career, going from playing with Jameis Winston and Tom Brady. No matter what, there was no drop-off to his numbers. He's been a consistent Hall of Fame player in his career. I would love Mike Evans in this offense. Absolutely would love Mike Evans in this offense. Mike Evans is 30 years old and is set to make around $14.5 million in 2023. Going into the final year of his current deal, there has been no sign or signal that I've seen at least that indicates that the Bucs are looking to move off of Mike Evans. Nor should they. He has been their best, most consistent wide receiver for a decade now. And given the fact that the Bucs GM Matt Light just came out this month and said that the Bucs look to contend for a very winnable NFC South this season, seeing they just re-signed veterans like Levante David and Anthony Nelson while signing Baker Mayfield to play quarterback, I believe that they think they have a good enough team to do so.
I think so too.
Plus, the pressure of filling seats after losing their meal ticket and Tom Brady will force their hand to not only keep the team as competitive as possible, but to keep fan favorites in the house. No one on this team is more popular or more beloved than Mike Evans. Which is why if the Chiefs were to trade for him, just like Terry McLaurin, it would have to be a trade that gives the Bucs enough to justify it to their fan base. Not to mention, again, the Chiefs would be getting Mike Evans on the final year of his current contract, which means the Chiefs would have to extend a 30-year-old wide receiver. Yeah. In other words, this trade isn't happening. Which leaves, yet again, the only realistic trade that fits all the criteria and makes all of the sense. Trading for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I know recent reports coming out of Cardinals camp, coming out of reporters, well, a reporter, Aaron Wilson, is stating that the Cardinals are asking for a second-round pick and something similar to what Christian McCaffrey's trade was. The Cardinals know they're not getting that. Christian McCaffrey was 26 years old and is one of the single best weapons in the NFL at the peak of his powers. Has he had injury concerns? Sure. But Christian McCaffrey is in his mid-20s. It made sense for that trade. And even when that trade happened, I said that the Niners gave up a lot. Yeah. It did pan out for them. He ended up playing very well for them, and I expect him to continue to do so for at least the next 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. But this isn't the same situation in any regard. So the Cardinals know they're not doing that, or they're pushing that to try to up the ante because they know they're not getting the offers they wanted. There's been a hard line set. I do believe the Chiefs are one of the teams that are in legit contention for DeAndre Hopkins because every other credible source and reporter has stated so. So much so that less than 72 hours ago, Albert Breer, who has his ear on the ground better than most people and has the know better than most people, has stated on multiple occasions that the Chiefs are in and interested on him and Odell Beckham Jr. Now, that doesn't mean they're getting either one or both. That just means that there is truth to what we have been sitting here and talking about and theorizing on. And based upon the market, based upon these scenarios of guys that would be an upgrade to what they just let literally walk out the door in Juju and McColl, and you're not getting any of those guys, what is left? Sure, I expect the Chiefs to draft a wide receiver or two. But how do we know those are upgrades? How do you know you're getting Juju Smith-Schuster and better? How do you know you're getting McCole Hardman out of this draft based upon what the Chiefs have done in previous drafts? Look at Sky Moore. Has promise. I like the kid. I think he's going to be special.
Yeah.
He had 250 yards last season. Yeah. In a season you didn't have Tyreek Hill.
Barely on the field, yeah.
Barely on the field. Was too busy muffing punts for half the season. No offense. Love Sky, but that's the truth. But, yeah. My point is, we're sitting here talking about a team that has a bunch of what-ifs. Even Travis Kelce going into this season can be considered a what-if. He'll be 34 years old. Trevor, you and I are in our mid-30s.
Yeah. Happy
We're not
birthday,
old
Lance.
guys. Yeah, I know. Thank you. We're not old guys by any means.
Yeah.
But we know that we're not 23 years old anymore. We're not 25, 26, 27 anymore. Yeah. Travis Kelce takes care of his body. He'll probably have a baller season next year. But you can't assume it anymore. And so that means that with Kadarius Toney, insane talent. Trevor, that's your guy. I love him too. But can we sit here with any definitivity and say, oh yeah, playing 15 games next season?
There's a question mark.
It's a huge question mark.
Yep.
So that means the Chiefs have to go out there and make something happen. Trevor, you and I are in the same camp, that we trust Veach. Man's got the benefit of the doubt. Helped the Chiefs get to 3 Super Bowls and 1, 2.
Yep.
So he gets the benefit of the doubt. But that doesn't mean we can't sit here and go, what are we doing, Veach? You know what I mean? Like, we have to sit here and wonder what's going on.
A whole lot of crickets going on.
So with these names, Trevor, with the way the market's now gone, what names do you think are out there? What do you agree with my list right here as far as the only 2 guys that even would have a chance? Or is there another name out there? Like, what do you think the plan is?
I feel like there's always some kind of like move that's looming that we have no idea or never see coming. That's always happens. But I agree with your list. My guy, when we first did this initial talk weeks back about who we would like to see on this offense, wide receiver-wise, if Juju and McColl were to go and are now gone, DJ Moore was the top of my list. Him going to the Bears, I was like, damn it. I was so bummed because I felt like he would have thrived in this offense so much. And his situation, obviously him being younger than DeAndre Hopkins, but him gearing towards the end of that contract made a lot of sense for the Chiefs too. And he was actually cheaper compared to a lot of guys. What wide receivers are getting paid at this point. So that one's out the window. I do love Terry McLaurin. I love his route running ability. He's a very smooth route runner. He's a very aggressive receiver too. He's a good blocker for his size. A guy that just wants to go out there and win. He competes on every snap. I love guys like that. He's not a prima donna. He's not a guy that is worried about himself. He's a teamer. He's a gym rat. He's a film guy. I love guys like that, and those are the kind of guys Andy Reid loves as well. Which is why he loved Jeremy Maclin so much. Guys like that. I mean, Jeremy Maclin wasn't the most talented guy, but he was a guy that gave you everything at all times. So that's a very respectable trait amongst receivers. So I love Terry McLaurin has that very Jeremy Maclin way about him. Very smart individual, a guy that just loves to play the game. Similar to Juju. Juju was like that as well, but Juju also had some traits that made him dislikable at sometimes too for other people out on the outside looking in. But scary Terry McLaurin, man, I would absolutely love to have that guy a part of this offense. I think he is a very tradable guy, depending on what Washington wants to do moving forward. I know they got a quarterback situation they got to figure out. So I think Terry makes the most sense out of all those guys. I don't think Mike Evans is even a option, really. I think he's an aging guy as well. No offense, he's going to be probably a Hall of Famer. Definitely a Buccaneers Hall of Fame guy, Ring of Honor guy. But we need more about what you can do after the catch. Mike Evans is, because we have an MVS, a guy that can stretch the field. I don't think we need another one of those necessarily. And this all points back to DeAndre Hopkins, man. I'm with you on this. I think this is becoming an ad nauseum argument to why he fits here perfectly. He's a do-it-all guy.
Yeah.
He's got size. He's got the best hands in the league still in my mind. His ability to get up and get it, his wherewithal, his knowledge, his veteran leadership that would be great for this young wide receiver room. There's so many things. Everything is positive on his end. We could talk about the PED shit. I don't really care about that. I know that was a black mark on his career, but guys are always taking something. There's always something that he happened to get busted with something that I probably don't even think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you. So that's one thing. If that's what you want to hang your hat on, and why you don't want him here, fine. But like you just said, Kadarius Toney, a guy that could be injured and out for multiple weeks. You know what I mean? So we do need that true number one receiver here. I do think Kadarius Toney has that capability, and that's what my idea is, what he's going to be next season moving forward. I love the addition of Kadarius Toney, what he could be in this offense. But having DeAndre Hopkins here just makes way too much sense for any team.
Right.
Any team, it's a great move. But for the Chiefs, it's the greatest move. I think for any team, the Chiefs make the most sense. So, I mean, like I said, he's a do-it-all guy. He can do everything. He can run the slot. He can run the outside. He can stretch the field. He still has that speed. He still has the size, the hands, the ball tracking skills, just the knowledge of a play-in, play-out kind of guy. A guy that's, has a Hall of Fame track record and Hall of Fame statistics, and never really playing consistent football with great quarterbacks. You put him on this offense and you give Andy Reid that weapon and what they can do together, it would just be something. He would be, outside of Tyreek Hill, the most talented receiver we've had here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Period. It wouldn't even be close. You know what I mean? So, yes, I want another star player on this offense, and having DeAndre Hopkins makes the most sense.
And it's something that we need to clarify here when it comes to the wide receiver position, because I do believe the Chiefs want to ideally play it cheap.
Yeah.
Which benefits the fact that, which leans to DeAndre Hopkins, because according to his productivity, to his who he is, $34 million over 2 years, $17 million a year is insanely cheap. Given the fact,
go ahead.
No, and just the fact that there's this lie that has been out there that the Chiefs weren't willing to spend on Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
The Chiefs literally agreed in principle to a contract that was going to pay him $25 million a year.
Yes.
It wasn't until Devontae Adams upped the ante on 28 that Tyreek Hill changed that. So we got to stop believing that the Chiefs aren't willing to spend on guys that are worth spending on.
Well, and to your point, talking about how the Chiefs have, ideally want to do things cheap right now. We have been, we've signed a couple guys, to 1-year deals, a couple defensive players to 1-year deals, very cheap 1-year rentals to make another run at this. And we've also freed up $9 point whatever million, basically $10 million in cap space to make a move like
Yeah,
this.
Patrick Mahomes literally moved his signing bonus around for $9.6 million.
You don't do that. You don't free that kind of space to make a couple other smaller moves that you've already made. This is to get a guy, bring in someone who's an impact player, a star player, possibly a splash play, and that gives you wiggle room to maybe throw a couple assets in the mix to get a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. And we need help offensively. This wide receiver room needs another alpha, a true veteran, and it's just there's been so much rumbling around it, and I think everyone knows that this is the best spot for him. I think he knows the best spot for him. We've heard rumblings about him wanting to be here. That gives the Chiefs all the leverage. If he wants to be here, we can work something out, but it's going to be on our terms.
I definitely believe DeAndre Hopkins. In fact, I know DeAndre Hopkins wants to be in Kansas City. I've literally had texts sent to me. I'm not going to get into it all. You guys can make fun of that, drag me. I do not care. I know what I know.
Yeah, and I think the funny part is, man, that this is a what have you done for me lately kind of league, and I get that.
Yeah.
People are very much slave to the moments. If DeAndre Hopkins played all year last year, didn't miss any games, and had 1,200, 1,300 yards and 12, 13 touchdowns, everyone would be on board with this. The only reason is because last season was a shitty season for the Cardinals. He played well when he came back, but he also missed a lot of time. There wasn't a lot of air time on TV for the Cardinals for him to showcase who he still is.
Right.
People love to forget.
Right.
This guy is one of the best top 3, top 5 receivers in the league.
100%. He would already been traded had he played the majority of last season, not with that suspension in play.
For sure.
He already been traded, and the Cardinals would have gotten what they wanted. They would have gotten that Christian McCaffrey type of trade. That would have happened. The point, though, is he didn't, and also he only played 5 of those 9 games with Kyler Murray.
Right.
So this is the point I try to. I was on Spaces with Mark Gunnels this last week, and I broke the numbers down about how, like we did on this show, about how there's no drop off from DeAndre Hopkins' production from whether he has a star quarterback or some average dude throwing the football. Yeah, exactly. So these are the kind of guys. And furthermore, Trevor, like when we talk about adding this type of difference-making depth, let's say Kadarius Toney's healthy all of next season, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but what's to say a 34-year-old Travis Kelce finally has his first game where he has to miss due to an ankle sprain?
Yeah.
Not saying that happens. Let's hope it doesn't.
Shit, I don't even think an ankle sprain will keep that dude.
But you know what I'm saying? Like eventually guys start to get old. Like, I do believe that Travis Kelce's the perfect player to avoiding injury because he knows how to use his body and avoid big hits.
Yeah.
Same with Tony Gonzalez. Same with Jason Witten. That's why those guys played so long. Whereas a lot of other tight ends have worn down because Gronk, he took all the big hits. His body broke down quicker. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he was younger than Travis Kelce is now.
Elusive. He wasn't an elusive guy, yeah.
He was a little bit more of a blocky, juggernaut type of player that just tries to fight through everything and got injured because of that. Travis Kelce's more of a finesse style, moves his hips real fluid, kind of receiver, basically. He's a receiver.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. If that was to happen for at least like a game or two, Sky Moore has an injury situation. Then you're talking about a situation where you have just Kadarius Toney and an MVS. Patrick Mahomes could make that work for some time, but it isn't something that you want to go into the playoffs with. It isn't something you want to go into big divisional games with. Yeah. And this is something I've been trying to hammer home to Chiefs fans all week long about this particular trade, or just about getting a difference maker in general. Mm-hmm. It did work this last season for the Chiefs, where you had a mediocre wide receiver room. No wide receiver one. Juju was good, not great, but he was good.
Yeah.
It worked. You can't expect that to happen again this next season, especially when you let Juju walk. When you had McCole Hardman, who was your second best receiving option for the first half of the season, walk. Mm-hmm. So I understand there is a plan. I want to gain clarity of said plan because right now it is gloomy at best. Now, we're only 2 weeks into free agency. Things can change rapidly, and I'm all for that. I do believe the Chiefs are going to make a trade because at this point, that's really the only option they have of getting a difference maker. Do I think the Chiefs are going to go and trade for Corey Davis? No. I don't think Corey Davis is a difference maker. Could they get him for maybe a 5th or 6th round pick? Sure.
Yeah.
But what is Corey Davis? Like, he was 2 years ago, he was a guy I wanted to see the Chiefs trade for.
Another banged up guy.
But he's banged up all the freaking time.
Another year older.
And he's 28 years old now. Like I
love Corey.
I would love him as a complimentary piece.
Yeah.
But he's not a guy wide receiver one. Like, and I get it. Travis Kelce's always going to be wide receiver one.
Yeah.
As long as he is who he is. But again, with age considered, with the fact that there's not a lot around him right now that we can bank on, it's just hard for me to imagine that the Chiefs are going to sit pat for any longer. That's why I want to know what the plan is. That's why I want to get some insight on this.
And I know you mentioned the draft and the what ifs of those guys that come into the draft. We've seen guys we do trust Veach to draft guys that are that will be impact players, even if they take a receiver here. But like my question to people that are against the DeAndre Hopkins move, what do you want to do then? You know what I mean? Like, what's your idea? Like, what's your plan? If you don't think, I mean, granted, we don't know if this is the plan of Veach. I think we can speculate, and we do agree that there is words being spoken behind closed doors to try to get something done with DeAndre Hopkins. I fully believe that they're definitely entertaining it and trying to figure something out, along with probably a couple other teams that are Buffalo Bills. I think have been mentioned as well. But I don't even know how they would do that. But yeah, I mean, I would just be interested to know like what anybody who's watching now or anybody that we know, if you have another plan that you think is better or another option out there than free agency that would be a more impactful player than DeAndre Hopkins and a Hall of Fame-esque talent that's just entering into his early 30s. It was going to be some kind of hamstring issue to this offense. Is going to, be a bad acquisition in some way. I just can't see the negatives here to why you wouldn't want him and what your other alternative move would be other than DeAndre Hopkins. But yeah, I mean, the draft is the only thing I think of that if we don't go that route, and I know that a lot of people have been hyping up this Justin Ross kid that's been looming in the mist for the Chiefs. I hope that he can become something. He does have size and speed. I know our boy Shaggy Shane has been all over him, and he's got that hype train going. And listen, I'm a very positive, optimistic guy when it comes to these kind of players and to have a story, coming back from something. I love stuff like that. Jody Fortson, for instance, guys like that have had these stories of coming back and being, guys that were counted out. So Trey Smith, another guy like that. Andy Reid loves those kind of guys. So this can be another situation like that. But we need a veteran presence in this offense, in this outside of Travis Kelce. We need another wide receiver in this room that can, And plus, like, the biggest thing for me, this is my last point for this move for DeAndre Hopkins, and I've said it so many times in the show, and it's probably annoying at this point, but having a guy that hasn't won anything outside of winning at life and being great at what he does, never winning never accomplishing the biggest goal, which is a championship in this league, having a guy that is as great and has been as great for so long as DeAndre Hopkins, and never has smelt the sweetened nectars or tasted the sweetened nectars of that championship vibe that you get when you win that, and being out on top and being the king of the league for an entire season and capping it with that. That's huge for a guy like him. That adds an extra, boost. Like Randy Moss when he joined Tom Brady and the Patriots. He was incredible that year. He was aging. He was getting older towards the end of his season.
Same age as DeAndre, by the way.
It was the perfect season. I mean, obviously they lost in the Super Bowl, but it was that season. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that kind of guy being, obviously he's not Randy Moss, but he's definitely a Hall of Fame-esque player. That adds an extra gear that they didn't know they had a lot of times, when they come to, especially when they come to a team with the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, arguably the greatest to ever do it. And you have a chance to play with that, and arguably the greatest head coach to ever do it as well, the greatest offensive-minded coach for sure, and Andy Reid. That's going to add another gear that we probably haven't even seen from DeAndre Hopkins. We can unlock some things we probably haven't even seen because he hasn't played with this much greatness on a team before. Mm-hmm. So that's something to really, really keep in mind if you're questioning whether you want him here or not. It's not even a question for me, and for those reasons only.
Well, because the way and just to piggyback off your Justin Ross take, I've had many discussions with my guy Shaggy Shane, who's been, I think he literally started a page for Justin Ross. Yeah. Justin Ross, and I'll say the same thing I said to Shaggy in our conversations private. When it comes to any player that has any type of star potential, I am open-minded to the possibility of it taking place.
Yeah.
But what I'm not going to do is ignore what I do know about the player. And that is that he has a litany of injury concerns. This man has had spinal surgery. This man has had ankle surgery. When you're dealing with those types of injuries that have kept you out from playing at all in your early 20s, those aren't things that get better with as you age, especially in a sport as football.
Yeah.
If this was baseball or basketball, you tend to work through, like what Sean Livingston went through in the NBA, he would have never returned if he played in the NFL.
Yeah,
never.
It's not an impact sport.
But because he played in the NBA, it took a couple years, but he got his body back, and then he worked his way back and had himself a nice, successful career. That doesn't happen in the NFL. You don't see guys on a very normal basis destroy their body or get their bodies destroyed, have back issues, have ankle issues, things of that nature, especially at skill positions, and go on to have great careers.
I mean, I will say Travis Kelce did miss his first season due to a knee issue where he had to get surgery. And the dude, even on his podcast, talked about he's had like 20-some surgeries. Mm-hmm. A lot of those are just, micro surgeries, touch-up surgeries, and cleanups and stuff like that. But still, I mean, you can use that against your argument too, as well as there have been guys that have had slow starts to the career and ended up flourishing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that could be a story as well. So you got a good with the bad.
But if Travis Kelce would have had a spinal injury, had neck, or was a fusion, he had a
even
spinal
Trey
fusion.
Smith, though, with the heart stuff with Trey Smith.
That is true. They got that in order before he ever got drafted.
That's even scarier.
The NFL teams didn't take that. He's an outlier, if we're being honest here.
For sure.
But the point I'm making is not to doubt or shit on what Justin Ross could become. The point is that the hype started to happen this offseason when we saw him run up a hill. Like, is that really what we're talking about here? Like, I saw Shaggy and Clay run up a hill.
His tape is fun to watch, though.
I saw Shaggy and Clay run up a hill a few years ago when they did the Tyreek challenge. I'm not drafting. I love my guys, but I'm not drafting them to the Chiefs. And this is so paramount to me because I don't want to see the Chiefs bank on a bunch of what ifs when we're talking about the prime years of Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. We get one shot at this. You get one Patrick Mahomes, man. Like, the Packers are an outlier because they got two prolific all-time quarterbacks, and they squandered it.
Yeah.
Like, the Chiefs can't squander it, and there's no guarantee that after Patrick Mahomes, you're going to get a quarterback that's even half as good as he was for the next 10 to 15 years. Yeah. So, in our lifetime, this is as good as it's going to get. And so, I don't want to see the Chiefs squander that opportunity. They're not. I don't believe they're going to. I believe Brett Veach does have a plan. Yeah. When we're looking at this team as currently constructed, I'm not comfortable with what is around Patrick Mahomes as far as receiving options. And as I stated on Twitter, and then we can move forward, I have another topic I want to discuss before we get to our final segment of the day. Something I tweeted out this week, and I stand by it. And I know it sounds so cliche, but I think there's more to it than people realize. Starting your team with Patrick Mahomes will make you a Super Bowl contender. Building a talented team around Patrick Mahomes makes you a Super Bowl winner. If you look at the team last season, yes, it was Patrick Mahomes in this epic, one-legged show that he put down in the playoffs that helped the Chiefs get to a Super Bowl. But what really won the Super Bowl for the Chiefs? Their defense. Getting plays, making plays. The trade from Tyreek Hill absolutely sucked at first, and we hated it. And it's been it was 1 year ago, I think it was Wednesday, that happened. We had our thoughts, we had our takes.
Yeah.
But that trade won the Chiefs the Super Bowl, as crazy as that sounds, because it gave them 5 additional picks to go and reconstruct their entire secondary.
Oh, yeah.
And then you went and did what? Got Joshua Williams, got Jalen Watson to have awesome postseason runs where they're picking off Joe Burrow, picking off Trevor Lawrence, having big plays in the Super Bowl.
The youth movement.
These are what won the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has never changed. Yeah. He's still the great quarterback. He's constantly great. Yeah. But the Chiefs haven't won the Super Bowl every year because they had inefficiencies and deficiencies in certain areas. They didn't have that as much on the defensive side this last season. Finished 16th overall, but second in sacks, first in quarterback pressures and quarterback hits. That's what won the Super Bowl. The year before, they were 29th in sacks. What do you know? They couldn't get to Joe Burrow. And they lost in the AFC Championship. Did Patrick Mahomes melt down? Yes. But it's like we've always said on the show, it shouldn't come down to Patrick Mahomes has to be a demigod every single game. Yeah. Because no quarterback's a demigod every single game. Because to that point, Joe Burrow won that game. He had an 85 quarterback rating. He wasn't even good in that game. He was decent. Right. But it was Samaje Perine Ryan's run game and the way they were running the ball that made the difference. And their defense getting to Patrick Mahomes and making him work. Yeah, and the fact that Chiefs couldn't get pressure on Joe Burrow. They sacked him 5 times in the AFC Championship this time around, which was the difference in a 3-point game, ironically a 3-point game last year. Yeah. So this is what you have to do is build a team. The Chiefs have 22 guys right now on rookie deals. That is a very young, cheap team.
Yeah.
If you have to spend a little bit more to go get a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins, go make it freaking happen.
Well, and do you want to go youth movement on both sides of the ball?
No.
I think that's a rough strategy.
Well, and not to interrupt you, Trevor, but look at the Chiefs' offense. It isn't a youth movement. Think about it. Joe Tooney's in his 30s now.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's deep into his 30s. Patrick Mahomes ain't young. He's young, but he's not young. You know what I mean? He's in his late 20s now. He's gearing towards his late 20s. Jerick McKinnon, one of the most pivotal pieces over the last 2 years, is in his 30s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this MVS, 28 years old. They're not... This offense as a whole isn't this baby camp. It isn't a nursery. Yeah. The defense, on the other hand, it's been extremely young. It got extremely young this last year, and it did work. Mm-hmm. But to your point, you can't expect a team to have 22 starters that are 25 years old. That's not the reality. You have to go and get those veteran guys. Do I like the fact that DeAndre Hopkins will be 31 next season? No. But if I know I got him on a 2-year deal, and I know I can get the most out of this dude, and it keeps him away from a team like the Buffalo Bills, who I don't even know for sure if they're really in play for him.
Yeah.
I think that was contrived either by the Bills or by the Cardinals or both to try to see if the Chiefs will overspend out of desperation. I don't think the Chiefs will budge because I know what this front office is all about.
Right.
But I still believe that there's enough respect for the Chiefs that some teams would be willing to trade a 3rd-round pick or even a 2nd-round pick to keep a guy like DeAndre Hopkins away from the Chiefs. The problem for the Bills, and I'll briefly discuss this, the reason why I know this trade isn't going to happen is because of the draft capital the Bills don't have. Do you know how many draft picks the Bills have this year? 6. You're telling me...
That's with the compressed...
That's right now, yeah. Right now, as they currently stand, they have 6 draft picks.
Yeah.
Because of what they had, they've traded away a lot of picks, dude. The point I'm making, though, is you trade 2 picks for DeAndre Hopkins. You're going to go into the draft with 4 picks? With that roster? Around Josh Allen at 27 years old? Ain't no way in hell. That's how you get fired as a GM.
Yeah.
You're not going into this draft pick with less than 5 picks.
I mean, I know that they lost Gabriel Davis, right?
No, Gabe Davis is still there.
Is he still on the contract, or is he? I thought he was going to be a free agent. I don't know why I thought it was.
I don't think he's a free agent. Is he a free agent?
I thought didn't he get drafted the same year as McCole? I thought he did. Maybe a year after. I don't really remember, but I don't want to detour that. But I don't know. I thought he was going to be like a hot commodity and free agent for receivers, but. Maybe not. Maybe he's got another year and they'll just let him.
No, he's still under contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he came in a year after McCole.
Yeah, see, they're speculating right now. Do the Bills trade Gabe Davis so they require DeAndre Hopkins? But see, that's what I'm saying. If DeAndre Hopkins was a free agent, I could see this being a legitimate concern for the Bills getting him.
Yeah.
But they're not going to trade the small amount of draft capital and add on another veteran
Yeah,
contract.
'cause they got holes on their defense now.
They have defensive line problems. They have secondary problems. They have offensive line problems. Von Miller may not even play this season.
Right.
And they got him on the books, I think, for $28 million. Like,
so
are they really
2026.
doing that? Are they really doing? I don't believe. I think this is the Cardinals and or the Bills putting that out there to see if if Veach will move on this and say, all right, we're hearing about the Bills. What do we need to give you guys to get DeAndre Hopkins? Because the Chiefs have the leverage here.
Yeah.
They do, because they have the 10 picks. They have a Super Bowl winning roster, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. They are defending champs now.
Right.
The leverage is on the Chiefs' side in this trade. That doesn't mean, though, that the Chiefs got to sit on their hands and say, all right, we're too good for this. No. You still need to go out there and be aggressive in some regard. And that's what I'm saying with free agency being the way it is and shaping the way it has, already having limited names to begin with, and those names are now gone. I mean, DJ Shark was one of the guys that people were talking about. Yeah. DJ Shark is a very talented big receiver.
He's a decent McCole replacement kind of
guy. But the man has missed over 20 games in the last 2 seasons. Like, you can't rely on the guy. You can't. And to be honest with you, at his best was 4 years ago? And if you look at the first 5 seasons of Juju Smith-Schuster's lined up to Chark, it's not even comparable. Yeah. And that's not including the 6th season Juju had with Patrick Mahomes. Take that season out. Just look at his first 5 before he came to Kansas City. Mm-hmm. They're better. He has 1,000 more yards. He has 8 more touchdowns. I mean, receptions, targets, everything, availability. It's all there. And the Chiefs let that guy walk. Why in the world would the Chiefs go and sign DJ Chark? So I'm glad they dodged that bullet. I'm glad they didn't go get Adam Thielen. But with me being happy about those decisions, they need to start making decisions to add guys, not just sit here and watch everybody else get taken. Yeah. That is why I believe trade is going to happen.
I'm with you.
A couple other things I want to talk about when it comes to the offense in particular. And I was just thinking about this, and I know that some people might think this is ridiculous, but are we certain that Juwan Taylor's the left tackle?
I'm not.
Like, I've been thinking about this all week.
Yeah. I
know we've heard, Matt Verderam and a couple other people talk about it, about how, the Chiefs are planning to move him to left tackle, and that very well could be the plan.
Yeah.
But are we certain? Do we know what the real plan is with him? I know that $60 million guaranteed attached to his name sounds like left tackle to me. But both tackles are open right now. Like, we really don't know what the plan is.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a whole other plan. Like, we have the wide receiver plan we got to discuss, and we just discussed for a half hour. Now we got to talk about an offensive line. It's like, there's a lot of questions on this team right now. Not even just on the offensive side. We're talking about the defensive line. I know they just added a Minahu. I know they got Byron Cowart.
Yep.
But he's basically a special teams player. I think he played like 230 offensive snaps, or defensive snaps.
Phil Hoskins.
Yeah, I mean, like
2 defensive tackles. Yeah.
Like those are, to me, those are camp guys.
Yeah.
I want to see what those guys do. If they do okay, they'll get on the roster. I don't take those guys as literal rotational valuable pieces.
We kept brought Noddy back.
Right, and yeah, I like having Noddy back. I would prefer to have Colin Saunders, but I get it.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make though is there's a lot of questions on this roster right now, and I think this next week or two is going to have to really be a week where the Chiefs start putting some answers out there. Because as I was saying about building that talented team roster, or that roster around Patrick Mahomes is going to make this team a repeat champion. And this team has the foundational pieces. We know that it's Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, Chris Jones. Like, those are the core structure. That's the core structure to winning Super Bowls in Kansas City. But they still have glaring holes to fill at positions that may not be considered foundational, but can play a detrimental role until your season ends. And again, I'm trusting that Veach knows these things and is going to get the job done. This isn't me sitting here saying, I don't think the Chiefs can do it. I think the Chiefs are incompetent. I'm not saying any of these things. I'm looking at it from a perspective of, I see a way that they can make this work. There are much smarter people that are in play that make these things work. What are they seeing? How are they seeing this go? Because as each day goes by, I think only more questions arise, or either the more questions arise or the questions just get more amplified as far as what they're going to do at defensive line, as far as what they're going to do at offensive tackle, each side, whichever side it is. We're still early in the process of making these things happen, but I would like to see these things start to become a little bit more fluid. Is Juwan, come out and tell me Juwan Taylor's going to be the left tackle? If I hear that, then I'm gonna buy in him as a left tackle. I have my worries, I have my concerns because he hadn't played there. But if you play him at right tackle, then the question arises: what in the hell are you doing at the draft? Because the Chiefs have issues at wide receiver.
Or do you want to pay a right tackle that much money? Does it make sense to pay a right tackle that much money?
It doesn't, in my opinion.
Especially
when your left tackle isn't solidified. So if you play him at right tackle, if Juwan Taylor is the starting right tackle for the Chiefs next season, that means they spent a very valuable draft pick at left tackle, which means the Chiefs are going to have to trade up, which means they're going to lose draft picks to get to that guy. Because as we've broken down many times on this show, you're not getting the next Laramie Tunsil at 31. You're not getting the next Trent Williams at 31. You're not getting the next Orlando Pace at 31. Those guys don't exist at 31.
Yeah.
It's a very rare. Will Shields, I think, was a third-round pick. He was a guard.
It's an anomaly.
Exactly. He was a guard like that, and he became one of the greatest guards of all time. You're not finding tackles just sitting out there. Like I said, Bakhtiari, he happened to be there in the 4th round. That's an outlier, but even to his credit, unfortunately, he's missed like the last 3 seasons practically.
When he's available, yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Chiefs, I don't know what's going to happen here at tackle. I don't know what's going to happen at defensive line. I don't know what's going to happen at wide receiver, which is why within the next couple of weeks we're going to have our draft show, and I'm going to give you guys my predictions. But I feel like I'm in a standstill. Because if I give you what I think is going to happen in the draft tomorrow or today, we could hear the Chiefs traded for DeAndre Hopkins or traded for Mekhi Becton, or I don't. Maybe he's a free agent. I forget. But let's say they bring in Mekhi Becton, and all of a sudden he's the Chiefs' right tackle, and then you move Juwan Taylor. Like, there's so many moving pieces here. I think Amenahu adds to the equation of taking some pressure off of the pass rush, where you're not going to have to maybe go and get an edge rusher at the beginning. But that's kind of where I'm still leaning, Trev, because I think that if you continue to build this defense and give Spags and give Joe Cullen the opportunities to add to this young, talented defense, then you're talking about there's less pressure to go and get a difference maker at wide receiver. Yeah. We were talking about Laramie Tunsil. We both would have rather had Laramie Tunsil than D-Hop. But if you get Laramie Tunsil, you don't have to worry as much about wide receiver because Patrick Mahomes can sit there and throw to Justin Watson, can throw there to MVS because he's going to have time. But when you don't have a Laramie Tunsil and a Juwan Taylor on your offensive line, bookending your offensive line that's already great in the middle, you're going to have to go and get that difference maker at wide receiver. You're going to have to go and get a little bit more on defensive line.
We do have a comment from Shaggy Shane, our guy Shaggy Shane. He says, the biggest domino that needs to fall is getting Chris Jones extended. Once that happens, I believe the rest of things will be expeditiously fall into place.
100% agree.
Yeah.
That is a big chip.
It's going to happen.
It's a big domino that needs to fall. That is going to happen.
Yes.
He's going to get his extension. I don't know when, though, because I've heard some discussions about people saying that it's going to be after the draft. I hope that's
I'm
not the case.
too worried about that situation.
Yeah.
I think Chris Jones, he's already very vocal about being a Chief for life, doesn't want to play anywhere else. I feel like both sides are in love with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's going to be taken care of regardless. But I do think that needs to happen sooner than later so other things can be, prioritized.
Absolutely.
So obviously he's the priority of the offseason, but at the same time, I don't know how they see it.
Yeah.
Because I think Veach already knows, they're already in bed together. This is a marriage between him and Chris Jones. That they're all, so both sides are very pleased with each other. So I think that's going to be a situation I'm not too worried about. But I do agree with the fact that the domino effect. I think that does need to happen sooner than later.
Yeah, it does, and I do believe it will happen, hopefully before the draft. Because what that does is, I know a lot of people have asked, what's the cap structure? What's the scenario once that happens? Well, according to what I know, I was talking to my guy Charles Goldman from Chiefs Wire. According to what I know, if and when the Chiefs do get that contract extension with Chris Jones, that opens up anywhere from 18 to 20 million in cap space, which is huge for the Chiefs. That would be monumental for the Chiefs. They can essentially do whatever they want. Now we got to remember the Chiefs got to draft sign their draft picks. But here's the thing, man. I don't want to jump too far ahead of this, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to draft more than 7 guys. They got 10 picks right now.
Yeah. We're trading up. I have a very good feeling we're trading up.
Trevor, it would shock me.
We'll get there.
Dude, it would shock me more as it currently stands, and maybe I'll be wrong. It would shock me more if the Chiefs drafted 8+ guys than less than 6. I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Because of the way they just crushed the draft last year.
On the way our defense is set up.
Yeah, the Chiefs can play with some house money here and say, we'll trade 2 to 4 picks to move up and get a guy that we really like.
Edge.
Get a stud edge. And according to the experts, and I'm by no means an expert when it comes to the draft, according to the experts, this is an edge defensive line heavy draft. It's not so much wide receiver, which is why I would love to see the Chiefs wait into the hundreds to get a wide receiver. I do think the Chiefs will draft a wide receiver. I don't think it's going to be until round 3 or round 4. The Chiefs have 2 4th-round picks. Maybe they trade one of those 4th-round picks along with the 31st overall pick and a future pick to move up, 15 spots or whatever the case is. And then you're all of a sudden from 31, you're at 17 or 16, whatever the case may be, and you can go get yourself a nice edge rusher. Then you're talking about a conversation to be had. Then you can play a little bit more. Then you can go get that wide receiver. Then you can go get another offensive lineman. Then you can go get a defensive lineman. These are the possibilities they have. And I really do believe, because of also being in Kansas City, I do think that's going to play a factor. I think the Chiefs want to make a splash in the draft. I think that's what you're going to see is them utilize their 10 picks. Because the thing that the Chiefs love more than anything is having a plethora of draft picks, because they can literally do whatever they want. Trading up for Trent McDuffie, they do that 100 out of 100 times, especially with that 30th overall pick still sitting there.
Yeah.
But with the Chiefs having several mid-round picks, and knowing what Brett Veach does in the draft, late in the draft, I mean, you're talking about your leading rusher last year was a 7th-round rookie. The fact that two of your starting out defensive backs were guys that were either 6th-round picks or not drafted.
We just brought in 2 solid veterans in Tranquil and Edwards.
Right.
Guys that are going to be that gives you even more leverage in the draft.
That's why
you have depth at those positions.
And I hate to keep bringing it back up, but that's why if you literally go and get a DeAndre Hopkins, you trade a pick or 2, you still have 8 to 9 picks to still mess with. You could still even trade up. This is what I've been telling people. Even if you're to trade for DeAndre Hopkins, you still have more than enough draft capital to literally do whatever you wanted. The Chiefs could even make a plot twist here and trade back into the draft and add more picks to their draft capital.
Yeah.
They could say, "Hey, we're moving off the 31st spot. We're gonna trade back and get 2 additional picks." Then the Chiefs go from having 10 picks to 12 picks. And if you subtract 2 picks to get DeAndre Hopkins, that's still 10 picks. I know I'm doing like the Charlie from Always Sunny where he's got the crazy conspiracy shit going on, but it's true. It's really true. Think about the possibilities the Chiefs have here. If you just make one small piece, I don't want to call it small, but if you go and make one trade for a difference-making wide receiver, it opens up everything else. Then the pressure of having to go get a wide receiver is off the board for the Chiefs.
Or you can grab one late and maybe have another project guy.
Because think about it. Then we're talking about what Shaggy's been talking about. Guys like Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Justin Ross, all of a sudden
Takes
become
pressure
that
off
much.
them as
Yeah,
well.
then they can just develop their games under the umbrella of Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins. And here's the other thing we have to address, Trevor. In Andy Reid's time, and I think he's the best head coach in football. These 10 years have been nothing short of awesome, especially the last 5. The Chiefs have never drafted and developed a wide receiver in the Andy Reid era.
Right.
Not one single time. Maybe Sky Moore turns into that. Maybe.
Definitely could be.
Definitely could. I really believe in the kid. I really like this
do
guy.
too. I like him a lot. Yeah.
Really, really like him. I believe in him. Maybe he'll be the first, or maybe he won't. So what do you do about that? If you're not, like, certain teams are just not good at drafting certain positions.
Yeah.
So what do? You go and find other ways to make it work. And the Chiefs have not been good at drafting and developing wide receivers to this point. So if you know that you can go and find someone else's trash to make them your treasure, go find that chest, man, and that shit in there and make it and have yourself a day, because I think that's the best way the Chiefs can do this.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Trevor, that you have as far as where the Chiefs are currently at on their roster? Do you have additional concerns about where things are at all? Not to throw you on the spot here.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's definitely the glaring need, obviously, I think, is wide receiver. What are they going to do with Clyde? That's been a question for me as well. The guy that was a ghost show for the parade, didn't celebrate with his. I don't know what I don't want to speculate on what that meant. What he had going on, maybe he had some personal things going on.
Well, he was doing a model thing. It was a pre-commitment.
Okay.
Before the Super Bowl, for anything, he did commit to it in New York City.
Yeah,
I'll just throw that
the Super Bowl,
No, I agree with you.
But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with Clyde. I know he's still under contract. Is he going to be the RB2? Is he going to be that? What are they going to do with the running back room? That's a thing too. I think we haven't. Because guys are floating around there still. We don't know if they're going to bring back certain guys. Rojo just signed with who did he sign with? Cowboys. I think Ronald Jones just signed with the Cowboys, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
So
1-year deal.
Are we going to bring back McKinnon? He's floating out there still too. I know he's a guy that other teams could use as well. I would love to bring him back on another 1-year deal or something like that. But yeah, I think that's one thing that's been lingering on my mind. Like, what's going to happen with Clyde? Are we going to use him as some trade bait during the draft? Is anybody going to be interested in Clyde? I don't think he's got much of a market. Running backs definitely it just keeps dipping every year, it seems like, the last few seasons. So, yeah, that's just one thing I'm interested in to see how that breaks down in the running back room. I think we have our number one guy at this point. But what are we going to do with the rest of that room? Because if Clyde's gone, if we move off of him, we trade him for like a 3rd, 4th round pick or something like that. If we can get that out, I would take it. Or we can hold on to him and then grab another guy, or bring back McKinnon. I just don't know how we're going to do that. That's one thing. Other than that, man, I think additions of Edwards and Tranquil solidifies, I think, the depth at linebacker and at safety and DB. I love our depth there. So really, it's just about positions of need for me is his edge.
Yeah. Another
outside linebacker, a guy that opposite George Karlaftis. And Menahu, I think, as a great addition as well. But not having Carlos Dunlap, not having Frank Clark, losing those guys, those veteran players, and that consistency of those guys, especially in the postseason, when making a run here. I want to see what else we can do. If we can go get a Justin Houston, maybe a guy that can get after quarterbacks, still at a very high level at his age. And we've talked about that, on and off air. We love Justin Houston. We'd love to have him back. I think the fans would welcome him in arms. But other than that, those are the kind of depth pieces on defense, depth pieces on the defensive line, and then the running back room. How is that all going to play out? Is Clyde going to be a Chief next season?
Well, I'll tell you right now my thoughts on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm not. You guys know I've been the biggest Clyde defender. I even predicted that he was going to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and he was inactive. So I've been his biggest defender. I got to stay consistent, though. I've been somebody that says that availability is the biggest ability, and Clyde really missed a lot of time at running back. Now, I know that running back isn't a huge fixation when it comes to the Chiefs' offense. We realize that. The 2 times they won the Super Bowl over the last 5 years, they had the 23rd and the 20th ranked rushing offense. So I'm not I'm not sitting here saying that they have to have a great running game, but Isaiah Pacheco for the foreseeable future is the guy.
Yep.
I know the Chiefs love Jerick McKinnon, would love to have him back. Unfortunately, I do think that he's got a little bit of a market out there, and I think he's going to get signed elsewhere. According to what I've heard, according to what I've seen, I think Jerick McKinnon is probably gone, which I'm happy for him. I mean, he helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl and get to another AFC championship his first season with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
so
I can see him going back to the Niners.
Yeah, I think Jerick's going to get an opportunity elsewhere to play more of a role in an offense. The problem is he'll be 31 years old this season, and you did see him kind of wear out, so I'd be curious to see.
He's not really a bell cow kind of guy. If it's a bell cow kind of quarter or running back.
I'm just saying, would it shock you if you heard that Jerick got a 1-year, $4 million deal?
No.
Yeah, and I don't think the Chiefs are giving him that.
Yeah.
I don't think the Chiefs are going to give Jerick McKinnon anything over like $2 million.
Yeah.
So
true.
I think Jerick's gone, which does leave Clyde as a question. I don't think that the Chiefs are going to get anything of real value out of him in a trade.
Yeah.
I think they could probably get a sixth-round pick out of him probably, which I would take at this point because I just think that you can move off running backs. Like I hate to break this to people because I know Pacheco is a massive fan favorite, and 2-3 years from now, Pacheco will not be a running back for the Chiefs. He will be gone. By 2025, more than likely, Isaiah Pacheco is not the Chiefs running back, or at least not the pivotal guy, because the Chiefs are going to utilize him as much as they can in his early years, and then when that fourth year's up,
it's the most expendable position in football.
It's going to happen. Yeah. And so that's why you're seeing guys like Austin Eckler, who is an absolute beast. The dude's had like 40 touchdowns in the last two seasons.
Arguably a top 3 running back in this league.
The Chargers are not paying him because you're not paying running backs at 28 years old with a lot of baggage.
It is, man.
Clyde is going to be, 24, 25 years old this next season?
Right.
But he's already missed like 18 games. Like, these are problems. And as much of a Clyde guy as I am, I think the Chiefs can improve at that position. So if they can get a draft pick, a single draft pick out of a Clyde trade, I'm all for it. If he comes back for another season, I'm not going to be mad.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not going to be the guy that the Chiefs run their offense through, at least from the run game perspective. It is Pacheco's
It is going to be
job.
very frustrating if he does come back and we don't trade him for any kind of draft pick compensation or anything like that. And he's a number one. He's a first round pick playing the backup to our 7th round running back.
Yeah.
That's going to be an eyesore all season, man,
Yeah.
just to know that you're watching this guy coming in. But at the same time, there is not always, Isaiah Pacheco kind of dominated the backfield eventually as the year went on last year. But in Andy Reid's offense, it's kind of a two-man show at times in the backfield. So there's not really an RB2 in Andy Reid's offense most of the time. But I think Isaiah Pacheco is a true workhorse. And I think he's proven that. So that might change some things next season, the way the offense goes.
I wouldn't be shocked if you saw in the later rounds the Chiefs take another running back.
Yeah. We will.
I do think that will probably happen because they do value the position enough to go and get a guy late in the draft. Like I said, Isaiah Pacheco, Brett Veach called his shot, said there's a running back
Darwin
late
Thompson
in this round.
of the world, guys like that. Yeah, we'll definitely take a shot.
You're going to see a guy added to the equation. As it currently stands, though, I do think they are looking to move off Clyde. Yeah. There's obviously no way in hell they're ever going to pick up his 5th-year option after next season. So as it currently stands, it's going to be Pacheco, probably another rookie running back, and they might add another veteran guy just to kind of just bring in and just be a guy. But I think Clyde could potentially go to a couple teams. I think there's a good chance because you got to remember there's familiarity in the league from Andy Reid's coaching tree. Having Kafka now being the offensive coordinator for the Giants, Brian Dable coming from the Andy Reid tree. Maybe he's back up for Saquon Barkley. Maybe Saquon Barkley has injury concerns. Maybe he gets himself a chance to play big minutes and big snaps in New York.
Yeah.
If you look across the board right now, there's teams that are probably looking to add a cheap mid-20s running back.
The Bears, maybe?
Yeah.
Because they lost Montgomery.
Even the Bengals are in the market right now. Maybe they say, hey, we'll give you a 6th-round pick for Clyde Edwards. Like, who knows?
They still got Mixon and P. Ryan, right?
Yeah, but they don't know if they're bringing back Mixon. And P. Ryan is, 29, 30 years old?
Damn near just as good as Mixon, bro.
Yeah,
he's
been pretty solid. But I know that Ezekiel Elliott's been in discussions with the Bengals. So I know they're in the market for a running back. I just don't know. Like I said, I think that as it currently stands, maybe I'll be wrong. I do think that Clyde's on the outside looking in.
For sure.
And right now, there's only one running back I know will be on this team. I would love McKinnon to come back next season, but even to the discussion, who's to say that McKinnon didn't get his best years out of him, or the Chiefs didn't get the best years out of McKinnon in the last 2 years?
Right.
He could hit that proverbial wall very quickly and very suddenly.
Right.
He's an undersized, injury-prone, 30-something running back. Sounds like a guy that's going to hit the wall pretty quickly. Love what he's done. I would love to see him continue it. But more than likely, the Chiefs are going to move off of him. I'm just saying, the Chiefs are a team that's like, all right, we'll move off of you, and we're not afraid to do that. And just based on the way they've been moving with this offseason, I think there's a really good chance that McKinnon will not play another down for the Chiefs, and we'll see about that with Clyde. As far as the defensive line is concerned, I do think, like I said, Amenahu's definitely alleviated some of the pressure of what the Chiefs need to do there. But if I'm a betting man, I do think that the defensive line is where the Chiefs are going to try to reconstruct their team because they dedicated all like you look at after 2020, the Chiefs dedicated that next offseason in building their offensive line. After 2021, the Chiefs dedicated building their entire secondary. So they have like these dedication services, if you will, for off seasons.
Yeah.
I think this off season is going to be dedicating it to the defensive line because they will extend
agree.
Chris Jones.
And
but Chris Jones, Chris Jones is 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know you're going to get probably another couple of seasons of great football out of him, which is why the extension is justified. But you also know that you're going to have to figure out a way to have a contingency plan in place. And we know that it's slow developing at those positions. You don't have, most times you're not going to get, unless you're in the first 15 picks, most times you're not going to get guys that walk in and are immediate contributors. So George Karlaftis, year two, probably going to have a big year.
That's what I'm saying. That's hinges upon a lot of this plan, hinges upon the next step, year two of George.
Amenahu being 25 years old, entering his prime, is going to probably have a big year. So what do? You go and get two rookies, build them around Chris Jones, Karlaftis, Amenahu. Then you have rotational pieces like Turk Wharton, who's coming back off injury. Then you have Derek Nottie coming back. You have Mike Dana on a 1-year deal. Like then all of a sudden, Joe Cullen and Spags have a lot to work with.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Chiefs are going to do is I think that they don't overcorrect, but they overemphasize on certain positions. And I think this offseason is going to be that when it comes to the draft because we know the Chiefs are a team that isn't aggressive to go out and spend when they need to, but they know that in order for them to win for the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to have to continue to build their roster through the draft. And I think that's what they're going to do at that position.
I agree.
So that is where we stand right now when it comes to the Chiefs. There's a lot of news that's going to continue to flow as each day goes by, as each week goes by, which is why we love to do this show. After the week is over, we can kind of sit back, kick back, relax, and just kind of recap of what we do on Saturdays. If there's things that you guys want to see the Chiefs do, if there are concerns that you have at other positions or in the same positions, but maybe have a slightly different take or you have the exact same take, whatever the hell you guys want to say, whatever the hell you need to say, drop it on our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, let us know what you guys are thinking. We'd love to hear from you. We've had a lot of interaction on our YouTube channel of late. We would love to continue that trend. We'd love to have you as a part of that. Let us know what you guys are thinking about when it comes to this offseason. Do you agree with what Brett Veach has been doing or not doing rather so far? And what do you anticipate is going to be happening on the horizon? What's on the horizon for the Chiefs before the draft? Really excited to hear from that. But Trevor, let's go ahead and put a bow on the show, man. We have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every week, we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly in the L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding the L's in the world of sports deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor, it's Woodwell. Who's holding the L for you this week?
Well, I'm gonna bring it to some NBA. Which is, I mean, I'm full on NBA mode right now.
Yep.
My Kings just continue to flourish, but I'm not going to talk about them because they are not L-worthy. They are all dubs all the time. But there is a team that is currently L-worthy that I was very high on. I was very high on the new acquisition they got and one Kyrie Irving. The Dallas Mavericks continue to lose games. Granted, they've been without Kyrie here. They've been without Luka here. But the games that they do play together, they are a whopping 2-7. Listen, sometimes certain things take time to gel, and I know you were kind of suspect and you didn't really believe in you think it's going to fail because the track record of Kyrie Irving tends to be the Grim Reaper in the wrong way when he comes to teams. You know, he kind of dismantles a lot of locker rooms or chemistry of certain teams when he joins them. And that's kind of what's looking like right now, unfortunately. Him and Luka don't seem to mesh very well, which I thought they would find a way to do it. I feel like maybe Luka can slide into a 2-guard role, or Kyrie can slide into a 2-guard role, or they can try to do that. It just doesn't seem to work when you have two ball-centric, ball-dominant guys that need the ball at all times to create offense and do things. Granted, Kyrie's much more of the ISO guy. Luka's more of the ball-dominant guy in order to create plays, not only just for himself, but even more dominantly for other players, setting up other guys, which makes him so great at what he does. But it's just not working. It's not working. They're 2-7 when the games they've played together, and they just last night lost to the Charlotte Hornets.
They were 16-point favorites, the highest in the season.
Yeah, and they lost, 117 to 109. I mean, in today's age, you're only putting up 109 points against that defense in Charlotte, and you allowed them to score 117 on you. It's a bad look, and it's not working. And I was touting this. I thought it would work. I mean, that loss last night to the Hornets knocked them out completely out of the play-in tournament right now and out of the playoffs. They plummeted 3 spots after that loss last night because the West is so tight. The Lakers just won again, and they're finally at 500 now.
They moved up 2 spots last night.
So they continue to climb. And LeBron's, I don't know when he's going to be back, but this team is playing well. And D'Lo didn't even play in the last game, and they still won. AD's been balling.
Austin Reeves has been balling.
Austin Reeves, man, the MVP of the team right now. For being honest, the dude's had a 35-point game, a 27-point game. I'm telling you that I've been telling you when we watched the Lakers game. I said Austin Reeves got game. The kid's got game.
Why does LeBron always have these white boys that can ball, man? I swear.
I don't know. He gets the best out of them. But I think Austin Reeves has it up here, though. That's why I like him a lot. He's very confident.
Wichita State, baby. This dude knows his stuff.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy, high IQ player, and you got to like guys like that. But yeah, the Mavericks, man, I had them in the finals in my prediction. No, they're not going to make the finals this year. It's just not working. They have a lot of things.
I said Wichita State is Oklahoma. I'm sorry.
Oklahoma, yeah.
You know what I meant.
He definitely looks like an OU kid. Yeah, so for me, in my perspective, and what I said about this team working this out and Kyrie being an issue, this is a multiple L. I mean, this is I think Kyrie's L worthy here because he continues to act like he's not the problem. Listen, I think it's an off the court and on the court thing with Kyrie right now. He's an incredible talent. One of the most I think he's the best ball handler I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And maybe the best finisher at the rack I've ever seen. Yeah. His talent speaks for itself. It's not even a question of whether it's a talent issue. This is a similar argument for like the Russell Westbrooks. The talent oozes out the dude's ears. The dude is one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen in the NBA. As far as what he can do at his size and strength and speed when he's done his whole career, overcoming knee injuries and such. The guy has championship mentality. He doesn't manifest it on the court. And even more so for Kyrie. He's more of an issue off the court and what's going on in his head. So for the Dallas Mavericks, it's not looking very bright for you guys right now. They could figure it out. I could have another L looming in the mist waiting for me to if they do turn it around. I do think this team is a playoff team. They make the playoffs. I fully believe that. But I have no hope for this team making a run in the playoffs at this point. I just don't. And the track record, once again, presents itself for Kyrie Irving and what he does when he joins teams. And it's unfortunate because I love the talent that is Kyrie Irving. Luka deserves better, if I'm being honest. I think Luka is a great leader and a great all-around talent that makes these teams better. But they've got a lot of figuring out to do, and Kyrie Irving is just not the piece. I think he'll be a Laker probably next season with LeBron and go back to daddy and go back to know what works. You know what I mean? So for that, the Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic at this point, Kyrie Irving, the whole gang, do me a solid favor and
hold this L. I like giving out W's with L's. I feel like it's a good little combination, which is why I'm going to do that today. You guys know I'm a baseball guy. I loved playing baseball growing up. It's been almost unwatchable for the longest time, at least for me. And it's been heartbreaking because I love the game. I think it's a beautiful game, and it was at one point America's pastime. It is no longer. It is now football. But it's an historic game, and it's a global game, which is why it's a beautiful, beautiful sport. What Shohei Ohtani just did in the World Series needs to be exalted and praised and admired. This dude is the best player in the world. He's the best baseball player in the world. And you could make the case, and I know it's a very short sample size, especially in the MLB level, he is the most magnificent player we've ever seen play baseball. What he did, let me just give you guys the list real quick. In the World Baseball Classic Championship game, he hit a baseball 114 miles an hour, then managed to outrun that ball because it went straight to the second baseman. He outran the ball that went directly to the second baseman at 114 miles an hour. He ran to first base in 4.1 seconds.
He's a freak athlete.
That is 90 feet in 4.1 seconds. Outran the throw. He also in the same game threw a pitch 102 miles an hour. This is 100% true. And in the same game, I watched this game, by the way. It was a freaking movie. Because what do you know? It's U.S. versus Japan. There's 2 outs. The U.S. is down 1 run. Who steps up to the plate? Mike Trout, the teammate of Shohei Ohtani. Who's on the mound? Shohei Ohtani.
It's poetry, man.
He strikes out Mike Trout, which is almost impossible to do, period. But here's the most impressive part about it. He dominated Mike Trout at the plate. Mike Trout, in his career, this dude's, 31 now. He's been in the majors since he was 19. He's had three swinging strikeouts in only 24 of his 6,174 MLB plate appearances.
Wow.
Think about that.
That's crazy.
And Shohei Ohtani did that to him on the grand stage. Blew the ball right by this guy. He had 4 pitches of over 100 miles an hour against Mike Trout in this game, in that matchup.
If anybody knows Mike Trout and his weaknesses, he's putting him on display.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, he made the best hitter in baseball, the best positional player in baseball, look that lost to the plate.
Best of his era, for sure.
Shohei Ohtani is what Babe Ruth wishes he could have been. I know that sounds nuts.
No, it's facts, dude.
Babe Ruth not only played against an inferior, much inferior MLB than Shohei is, because it was not a global game back then. They weren't even including our own black Americans, but we won't get to all that yet.
Yeah.
The point is, Babe Ruth only had 2 seasons of when he was a positional player / pitcher and hitter in his career. Shohei's already done that 3 times. This is already his third. That was his 3rd season last year as a positional player, batter / pitcher, and he has a below 3 ERA for his career. And this dude just won MVP. I think he was 2nd in the league, or 2nd or 3rd in the AL in home runs. I mean, this guy is literally what we thought Babe Ruth was. We've mythicized Babe Ruth, and we made him the great Bambino and all this great stuff. Shohei is what we thought what Babe Ruth was. He actually is what Babe Ruth was, and we thought he was. Like, that's insane. So the W I'm giving today isn't just the World Baseball Classic, because it was incredible. This was a success. We need more of this. I loved it. It was great. I hate seeing guys like Altuve and Diaz get hurt, but that happens in sports and in life. And freak accidents. This is a great W for the World Baseball Classic. But more than anything, this is a W for my guy Shohei, the best freaking base player in the world.
It's a W for baseball in general.
Oh my God, it was great, man.
Yeah.
It was so great. I definitely wanted to throw that out there because I thought that was so newsworthy, that was noteworthy. We needed to bring that up today. My L is going to a guy that, we're in the midst of March Madness right now, and this guy was a big figurehead for KU. In a big moment when the Jayhawks won a championship in 2007, 2008.
Oh, boy.
So we know that LeBron James has had a lot of opinions about him out there throughout the years. A lot of criticisms, and almost every single one of them are extremely unfair. And look, man, jealousy is a bitch. To a much lesser degree, a lesser scale, I'm learning that. That when you have a platform that's decently successful and the people pay attention to what you say, you got a lot of people that hate you and you don't really understand it, but then you remember it's because of the fact that you're garnering attention they could never dream of getting. And that's what LeBron James has done in his career, is that he has a lot of peers in the league, but he is so much substantially richer than these guys, more famous than these guys, more successful than these guys, greater at the sport than these guys are. A lot of times you'll get jealousy across the league, and sometimes, unfortunately, from even teammates. Teammates that you won championships with. Mario Chalmers is now that guy for LeBron James. So I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm sure everybody has. Mario was on a podcast this last week, and he, I believe, was asked a question, but he made a statement, and you can go look up the statement in its entirety on your own time, but the essence of the statement was that people don't fear LeBron in the league. And the confusing thing about Mario's statement was the fact, not just what he said, but he kept trying to clarify what he was saying. And in my opinion, when you come out with a statement like that, I feel that you come out with what you initially believe, because you know how hard-hitting that type of accusation is, or that type of assumption or assertion is. So he tried to clarify it, and for me, I felt that Mario was just doing this to get himself back in the limelight because he's been pretty damn irrelevant for the last 6-7 years. And it worked because he got on Colin Cowherd's show. He got on a lot of different shows, and it worked for him.
And if we're being honest, he's only relevant because he was a part of those championship runs.
Thank you for making sense on that. But his most recent comment, according to NBA Central, Mario, he was trying to add clarification to his remarks about LeBron. He said, quote, getting more into the depth of my statement, you come into a final situation, are you more fearful to face LeBron James or Michael Jordan? MJ is 6-0 in the finals, and LeBron has 4 rings. When I say players didn't fear LeBron, LeBron has been beaten. MJ has not. When LeBron first came to the Heat, people saw him as a villain. When you line up next to him, you're actually fearful of him because he's trying to prove people wrong, end quote. So kind of like going backwards in his statements, he's saying that when you line up next to LeBron, you're actually fearful of him because he's trying to prove people wrong. So that sounds like people were fearful of LeBron James. So that line alone negates everything and just debunks everything and contradicts everything that Chalmers was trying to say from the get-go. But there's more to what he said. He said when LeBron first came to the Heat, people saw him as a villain. Trevor, you and I have watched superhero movies and shows forever. Villains are feared.
That's the whole.
Correct?
That's the whole point. That's the foundation of the villain.
Lex Luthor, Joker, all these, they're all feared.
Right.
That's what makes a villain interesting, is they have this pent-up hate, frustration, greed, hate, whatever it is that drives them. It makes people fearful of them because they have nothing to lose, or they don't care about the consciousness of other life. They just want to just get what they want. They're madmen, as they're called. And then he said, when I say players didn't fear LeBron, LeBron has been beaten. MJ has not. That is literally, by definition, false.
Oh,
I guess Mario Chalmers is just like everybody else out there that refuses to believe or acknowledge that Michael Jordan played more than 6 seasons in his NBA career.
You're only beaten if you lose in the finals.
Right. It's almost like people forgot that, again, Michael Jordan didn't win a playoff series until Scottie Pippen got there in MJ's 4th season. Phil Jackson came and became his head coach in his fourth season. People forget the fact that while Michael Jordan played over half of his career, Magic Johnson won multiple World Series finals. Larry Bird won multiple finals. The Pistons won multiple finals while Michael's very much in the league dominating as an individual. So what in the hell is Mario talking about? He didn't lose. He lost several times. He lost 4 more times than LeBron still has. LeBron has been in the finals literally half of his career, 50% of his seasons. Yep. And when he talks about when you come into a final situation, are you more fearful to face LeBron or Michael Jordan? What is that's a non-starter in my opinion. Like, who are you asking, first of all? A guy that faced Michael or a guy that faced LeBron? Because you can't ask people that didn't face one or the other. And furthermore, as J.J. Redick and Tim Legler and a lot of other former NBA players have come out and said, when you're at that level in the NBA, you don't fear other dudes in a way of, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like,
trembling.
You're not trembling.
Yeah.
You're confident in who you are. And if you're not,
you can be in awe of someone.
Yeah, J.J. Redick said it himself. If you feel that way, if you're that fearful of another guy, you're not in the league.
You don't belong there.
You don't belong.
Yeah.
And Tim Legler was echoing those sentiments. A lot of other players have been echoing that sentiment. Even so, a former LeBron James teammate. And you've said something really stupid when you make Tristan Thompson look like a guy that's making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Tristan Thompson came on to Draymond Green's show this week, and his response to Mario Chalmers was, quote, Mario, at one point, you were probably texting LeBron to get on a team or a job. Guys be on some sucker shit, and I don't like
Facts,
that.
bro. You're a role player.
He's even bitching.
He was a role player.
He was even bitching about that Ray Allen got that shot that saved the Heat series.
Ray fucking Allen.
Like, okay, but go watch the play.
Yeah.
Mario was open. Mario was on the complete opposite end of the court.
Yes, because the rebound
Chris
bounced
Bosh,
that way.
Chris Bosh gets the rebound, and he's literally looking right at Ray Allen.
There's 2
seconds left. What was he supposed to do? Turn his body all the way down, throw a Luka Doncic style pass that just a piss. And even if he got the ball to Mario, there's not going to be enough time for him to get that shot off.
Salty old Chalmers.
I don't know what Mario, what was his, I guess why I was convinced that I think the only thing I can come up with is that he was just trying to get some attention.
Yeah.
He claims that LeBron's camp never reached out to him. Quite frankly, it's probably because like, dude, fuck Mario at this point. Like, I know Mario drove LeBron crazy in their time together, so I'm sure it's not shocking. They probably had some riffs.
Sideline arguments with them. Yeah.
But god damn it, man. You only, like you said, Trevor, the only reason you had relevance in this fucking league to begin with
reason this
was
is
because
a soundbite right now.
It's because you want LeBron carried
Hey,
your ass to two
Mario
fucking
Chalmers,
championships.
all-time lore legend in KU history.
I'm not even debating that.
I'll forever love him for that.
Yes, but
that
Trevor,
has nothing to do with the
we
NBA.
also have to remember something else.
Yeah.
You know the first championship they won, Mario got benched, right?
Yes.
He wasn't even in the starting rotation on
Right.
that first one. He was literally unplayable.
He was too slow.
So
he was too slow.
Outside of shooting some jumpers here and there and playing some pretty decent defense,
Yeah.
Mario wasn't the guy that, like, oh my God, thank God they got him.
Yeah.
Because Mike Bibby was starting for them in his old ass age in 2011 in the finals. And then in 2012, he was almost unplayable.
Or even, what's his name? Homeboy with the high top fade, short point guard that he started eventually.
Number 30.
Yeah. I always forget his name. Anyways, yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Undersized guy.
Cole.
Norris Cole.
Norris Cole, thank you.
Yeah, he ended up starting over him.
I mean, my God.
Yeah.
This is just... And to bring this into a MJ LeBron discussion is so dumb. Like, how dare you do this, bro? Like, if you think that Michael's the better player, fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and go over this all again. I'm not having that debate anymore because I already know who the greatest player is. It's no longer a debate. But if you want to still stand on that side, cool. But for Mario to disrespect his former teammate like this and say that guys didn't fear him when literally we have actual quotes of players that said, well, if we had LeBron, we'd be winning too, from DeMar DeRozan and guys like that. Another thing, like our guy Nick Wright brought up on his show this week, that in direct confrontation to this statement from Mario Chalmers, is the fact that, and you can't even debate this, over a 10-year span, when LeBron was going to the finals every single year, Kevin Durant went to the Warriors because the Warriors couldn't beat LeBron James when he had an actual even playing field in the finals.
That is facts.
Okay, nobody outside of Carmelo Anthony went to the Eastern Conference during that run that was notable. Name one superstar player or star player that went to the Eastern Conference, like literally chose to, a free agent,
right,
went to the Eastern Conference during LeBron's reign.
Remember the Celtics were doing everything they could to get KD.
They traded for KG and they traded for Ray Allen to beat LeBron when he was with the Cavs.
Right.
Then he goes to the Heat and it's an even playing field and they never beat him again. Okay, he beat him 5 times in that 8-year run, right? The Raptors try to build teams. They couldn't get star players to go there. Beat them all the time. KD stayed over there. Kawhi Leonard stayed on the West. He played 1 year to the Raptors because they traded him over there and went right back to the Western Conference.
Right.
He went right back to the Western Conference. All these, like, name every star player from that time. They either stayed in the Western Conference or they went to the Western Conference. So if they didn't fear LeBron, why are they doing that? The Eastern Conference was so easy. Remember, Trevor? It was the easier conference. Why didn't y'all go over there and start stacking chips? And it's funny, Trevor, because
the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, because as it currently stands, we're on pace to have a 5th consecutive season that LeBron's been out of the East. 5th consecutive season that someone else gets the 1 seed out of the Eastern Conference.
Right. Yeah,
Not even
Giannis can take over that.
As
great as Giannis is, he hasn't even been able to take over
it's not like LeBron leaves, then Giannis that gets the 1 seed out of the East. It is always a different team now. So if the Eastern Conference was so easy, why is it now so not easy?
Yeah.
The reason it looked easy is because LeBron dominated it. And you can't say he hadn't done that in the Western Conference, because when he's had a healthy team the one time he's had a healthy team in the Western Conference, what do you do, Trevor? He won a fucking championship. Yeah. Let's say something real quick about this, because I know I'm really going too far on this.
Let's go.
But here's the thing about the whole people try to downplay the bubble shit. I want to just put this out here real quick. I gotta end this shit once and for fucking all. People try to downplay what the Lakers did in that bubble and winning that title, what LeBron did in that bubble.
Against that very good Heat team, yes.
Hey, Trevor, real quick. Do you know who had the number 1 seed in the Western Conference before the COVID hit and they had to shut down for 4 months?
That would be the Lakers.
Yeah, their record was 49-13. Okay? They were 49-13. And guess what? I think they had 9 games in the bubble before the playoffs started. They had those 9 warm-up regular season games. Not a single team in the Western Conference after those 9 games had a better record than what the Lakers had going into the bubble.
Right.
The second seed in the Western Conference was the Clippers with 49 wins. So they had the same record with 9 additional games than the Lakers had before the bubble.
But I want to say this too, for the people the ignorant people that try to use, it's a self-defeating argument to try to use the bubble as some kind of argument against, or argument to why the Lakers somehow found a way to win the finals. Everyone was in the bubble.
Thank you, man.
If
Everybody got those 4 months off.
If that was an advantage for some team, for the Lakers, it's an advantage for every team.
Everybody
in the
had 4 months off.
It's an equal playing field. It doesn't matter. That whole argument for what the bubble ring shouldn't matter is the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. It's literally people conspire to try to tarnish LeBron's career. That's literally what it is.
They try to say that AD was healthy because they had the 4 months off. That is true. But you know what can happen?
Everyone else got healthy
AD
too.
gets sneezed on and he's out for 2 weeks.
Right.
That could have easily happened. They played how many games? The 9 games of the regular season left. And then they played how many? They probably played what, 21, 22 playoff games? Yeah. And AD played through it healthy. So do not tell me.
But every other team got healthier too in those times at that time.
Saying.
It wasn't just AD.
When you have guys like, was it TJ Warren?
Yeah.
He was averaging like 27 a game in the bubble.
That was like his moment.
You know why that is? Yeah. You know why, guys? Everybody's game got better because all they could do was play ball. They had no outside distractions. Yeah. Like they were calling Lemon Pepper Lou Williams Lemon Pepper Lou because he escaped the fucking bubble and went to an Atlanta strip club. Like they were crushing him for that shit because he was the one guy doing that shit. Yeah. So everybody's game was heightened because Paul George has come out. Several other players have come out about how the bubble was the toughest chapter of their NBA careers because that's all you had.
There's no energy.
So that means
There's no energy from the crowd.
That means the competition has never been better. And here's the last point I want to nail home about the Lakers. They didn't have advantage. They had disadvantages. You know why? Because I bring up the 1 seed. They had no home court advantage, like you said. There was no crowd.
Imagine the Lakers not having a home court, bro.
Imagine if the season would have continued as is. The Lakers get the 1 seed in the West, have home court. Yeah. You're going to tell me right now that wouldn't have made things easier for them to win a title if they had Laker Nation behind them.
Or even great competitors like LeBron, and even Travis Kelce's mentioned himself how he thrives off the boos even more than he does the home crowd sometimes. Right. You know, LeBron not having those people booing him and doubting him, that much more of an edge that gives you as a player. If they would have had a home crowd, they probably would have swept the fucking Heat.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
You know what I mean?
Right, that's what I'm saying, dude.
Like, stop it, dude. It's nonsense.
You wouldn't have had Tyler in the little face thing.
Yeah.
That would never have happened.
That guy, man.
So, Mario Chalmers.
Yeah, Mario.
My guy, Trevor's 100% right. My dude will never pay for another beer as long as he lives in Lawrence, Kansas.
Legend. Yep.
But dude, you're gonna have to buy something else for me today, and it's a letter in the alphabet. Do me a solid, my brother, and hold this L. Man.
Yeah, that was rough.
I mean, I watched his interview with Colin, and I was like, God, what are you even? Because he was so bland on it anyway. Just like, man, you're just trying to capitalize on this shit. You're not even like really trying to like really put any energy in it. You're like, oh, I made it. I'm here. You know?
I mean, the man
got what I needed.
The man owes LeBron his NBA career.
Literally,
he only has the only section of his NBA career of note was when he was with the Miami Heat. I
mean, even look at the star players that LeBron's played with. After they leave LeBron, what have they done?
Truly.
Kyrie Irving hasn't won shit before or after LeBron. D-Wade did win a title before LeBron, give him that. But after LeBron, D-Wade broke down, had nothing left in his game. Bosh broke down, had nothing left in his game. Kevin Love, I mean, you can't even find him on a lineup half the time anymore. Yeah. I mean, all the star players that he's played with, Anthony Davis won nothing before LeBron, won a title with LeBron, continues to get injured with LeBron. Like, every single star player LeBron's played with has not won anything after they play with LeBron James. How much more so is that relevant for a guy like Rio? From Mario Chalmers, that literally fell off the face of the earth the moment LeBron James left Miami. I mean, it's not even disputable. He had a couple seasons with the Grizzlies, and outside of that, he did nothing. So, I had to bring that up today. But you know what? Luckily Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to worry about having guys like that on his team because I think everybody appreciates what he does, and that's why we spend a lot of our time dedicating it to the Chiefs because, man, we are so freaking fortunate to do this show in the midst of what we got going on here in Kansas City. Yep. And I know you guys are having a blast. I know we're having a blast. And we're going to continue to have a blast because the football season never really shuts off. I know we have the off season, but let's be honest, man, the light switch stays on. And we continue to talk about it, and our light switches stay on, if you know what I mean, because we got a lot to be excited about here in Kansas City. And I'm really looking forward to this draft. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the plan is when it comes to Brett Veach and what he intends to do for the Chiefs. And with a veteran free agent wide receiver, not a free agent or trade, whatever they're going to do, I'm really excited about it. And I hope you guys stay tuned with us because we're going to continue this down each and every week. And if you have not already done it, like I said, and I'll continue to say it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let your friends know. Let your family know. Just spread the damn word, man. We're really excited about what's on the horizon for the Chiefs and our show as a whole. And definitely go hit up Starcade Media and all the other shows we have. There, you have Kingdoms Queens. We got Arrowhead Allies. We got a lot of really good shows on the Starcade Media media platform. They've been great to us, and we definitely appreciate them. And definitely go follow them on social media platforms. And follow us as well, man. We'd really appreciate you guys being a part of the community. It continues to grow, continues to thrive, and that's what we want to continue to do, is put that energy into this, put this back towards you guys, because that's why we do this, is for everybody to have a platform to discuss and debate, and to have a spirited debate, respectful debates when it comes to the world of sports, because that's what makes it fun. When it gets nasty and ugly, man, people tend to tune out, and that's not what we want. We don't want to make this show like a First Take or an Undisputed. We want a discussion. We have an analysis. We want to have knowledgeable conversation. So that's what we're going to continue to do here. If that sounds good to you, join us, man, and let us know what you guys have to say and what you guys want to talk about. But in the meantime, that's pretty much it for today, and we're really grateful for you guys, and I want to thank you guys for celebrating this day with me, because I'm getting a day. I'm a year older today, and I honestly, I swear to you, I'm not saying this just to say this. This is the best thing that I could be doing on my birthday right now. Doing this show with my brother, with you guys. This is what I wanted to do, and I'm so glad it fell in today. And I really appreciate you guys being with me today for our 210 episode. Yep. It's fucking wild, bro. Can't wait for next week, man. So yeah. But in the meantime, while we're going to be gearing up for next week while we wait for number 211, episode 211, for Trevor Twidwell from Eddie Ortiz that couldn't make it today, but we know he's here in spirit with you guys. Great Clay that puts all this together. I'm Lance Twidwell. Episode 210 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we are back 1 week from today for episode 211, we out of this bitch.
Later.